Hey everyone, I hope you're having a great day. I know I've been a bit scarce in uploads over the last couple of weeks, and if you can believe it, I actually set a goal to upload daily through all of December. I realized that wasn't going to happen when I also had to finish the semester of grad school. Anyways, I appreciate your patience and support while I finish up school. One fanfiction request that I have been getting often is, what if Darth Vader found Luke on Tatooine? Today's video will be the first of two parts going through this what if scenario. I hope you enjoy it. Luke Skywalker spent the first 19 years of his life on Tatooine, raised by his father's stepbrother Owen Lars and his wife Beru. As an infant, Luke was brought to Tatooine by Obi-Wan Kenobi after the rise of the Empire. In order to keep him safe from the Emperor and Darth Vader, his existence was kept secret. And during Luke's childhood, Obi-Wan Kenobi lived as an exile on Tatooine, keeping a close eye on the son of Darth Vader. Now, this could make sense because 3 years before Anakin's fall to the dark side, he actually met Owen Lars and went to the Lars moisture farm. Anakin visited them when he was still a Jedi Padawan during his mission to protect Padme. These events all take place in Attack of the Clones, and this is where he discovered his mother had been captured and killed by the Tusken Raiders. After bringing her body back, Anakin buried her on the Lars moisture farm. And years later, as Darth Vader, Anakin would experience moments of suffering as he remembered his past and everything that Sidious had taken from him. What if, during one of these low moments of deep suffering, Darth Vader decided to visit the grave of his mother? Doing this between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, which I think is reasonable to think, would bring Vader face to face with his son Luke Skywalker. Now, in the 2020 Vader comics, he actually does visit Tatooine. It's a really deep scene where Vader walks through the farm and remembers all of the things that happened during his first visit to the Lars home. It's a really cool moment that highlights the difficult tension between the cold, calloused Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker. However, this comic takes place after the Empire Strikes Back, after Darth Vader has just revealed his identity to Luke. Having failed to convince Luke to join him, and Luke escaping on the Millennium Falcon, Vader turns his attention to figuring out who it was that hid Luke from him and thus made him weak. How would the story of Star Wars change had Vader made a visit to the Lars farm before the events of A New Hope? So with that backdrop in mind, let's jump in. Vader arrived on Tatooine alone. Personal matters like this were best kept from the Emperor. He was only accompanied by 2 Death Troopers and the shuttle pilot. It had been 10 years since his defeat on Mustafar, 10 years since Kenobi, the Jedi, Palpatine, and everyone else took everything from him. Now he was a servant of the dark side, slave to his suffering. Vader approached the modest farm. The twin suns had just set on the desert planet, and only Vader's breathing could be heard. From a distance, he could hear the voice of Beru Lars calling a name into the distance, Luke. Vader watched as a young boy ran from a moisture evaporator to the main building. Vader sensed that the Force was strong with this child. Even from a distance, there was something familiar about him. He commanded one of the 2 Death Troopers he had brought with him to return to the shuttle and check for birth records of any children Owen and Beru may have had. Swiftly, Vader moved toward the entrance to the Lars home. He briefly glanced toward the spot Shmi Skywalker had been buried almost 13 years earlier, and he was enraged to see that the header marking her grave had been covered by a layer of sand. Fueled by anger, Vader used the Force to blast down the front entrance of the home. The Death Troopers then moved in quickly and apprehended Owen, Beru, and the mystery child. The trooper who had gone to look into the birth records then handed a datapad to Vader. Vader looked at the datapad to read an excerpt from an unorganized Mos Eisley database. The information revealed that Owen and Beru had adopted a boy named Luke Skywalker. The year they had done that was the same year Padme had died. The same year she would have given birth. Vader was perplexed. How could this be? Padme died before giving birth, according to Palpatine. But it all made sense. This connection to the boy he sensed earlier, the name Skywalker, the fact that he was with the closest thing Anakin had to a family. Padme had been alive long enough to give birth, He felt it. It was the Emperor that lied to him. Vader looked up from the datapad to stare at the small boy that was hiding behind Owen. This was his son. Vader called out to the boy to come toward him, but he did not budge. Lars seemed to plant his feet as if to say the boy is not going anywhere, as if Owen Lars could stand in the way of Darth Vader. Without a word, the Death Troopers moved forward and grabbed Owen and Beru. Vader knelt down in front of the boy, Luke. He must have been 9 or 10, the same age he was when the Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn took him from Tatooine. Just as Qui-Gon had, Vader would give this boy a new path, a path to great power. After a few tense moments, Vader grabbed Luke by the hand and took him from the house. The Death Troopers hung back with Owen and Beru, and in only a few moments, the house was lit with blaster fire. Vader continued toward his Lambda-class shuttle that had just landed only meters away from the house. Approaching the shuttle, he felt another presence, one he had not sensed since the fire of Mustafar. Just like all of those years before, Darth Vader looked at the top of the shuttle ramp to see Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the shuttle pilot lay at his feet unconscious. Darth Vader let go of Luke and ignited his lightsaber. At last, he would have a chance to destroy his old master. Vader looked at Obi-Wan. "When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master." "Only a master of evil," Kenobi replied. The clash of lightsabers lit up the desert night. Vader could feel the powerful connection to the Force that Obi-Wan had, but his abilities with a lightsaber had diminished with age. Soon, Darth Vader began to overpower the old Jedi. This time, Vader's arrogance would not get in the way of defeating Kenobi. After parrying a string of attacks from his opponent, Vader saw his opening. Kenobi moved slower, and it left an opening for Vader to exploit. The towering Sith slashed at Obi-Wan's side, landing his blow. Obi-Wan fell to the ground. He was only wounded, and Vader looked down at him for a moment, briefly remembering their time as master and apprentice, and then his memory was flooded with images of his mother, Padme, and the future he could have had. But those were weak memories. Those were the memories of Anakin Skywalker. Casting them out, Vader gripped Kenobi with the Force and threw him through the front door of the home, and then turned to take Luke aboard the shuttle. Soon, he would learn to appreciate the power that was just demonstrated before him, Vader thought. As the ramp to the shuttle was closing behind them, Vader turned around to look at the nasty Tatooine house. As the Death Troopers emerged from the home, he reached out with the Force and made a fist. The house crumpled beneath his power, and the roof went caving down on the injured Kenobi who was inside. "Today will be a day long remembered," Vader told young Luke. The Imperial shuttle rose from the sand and left Tatooine. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoyed part 1 of What If Darth Vader Found Luke on Tatooine. I'll finish up part 2 and release that this week. Let me know how you think the story ought to end in the comments below. I'll catch you in the next video. May the Force be with you.